Welcome to the Man That Can Project podcast. We're going live. We're in a temporary studio today as I'm slowly renovating it in my own time. But I am disappointed we don't have a blue wall behind us because it really makes it pop, makes the logo pop. But today's guest, we got Marc Vecchio. Great to have you, brother. So, Marc,
thank you. I appreciate it.
Marc is a member of our Strong Men of Value program and a super fascinating guy. I think it was maybe 8 weeks ago, where the challenge was to talk about things that you've overcome and learned. And Marc did a Facebook Live, and I was watching it, and I was like, "You're an incredible storyteller, and you've had a wild ride." And I wanted to get you on here to talk more about it because, talking about travel and what you can learn from that, the things that you learn, and we've got some stats here from some of the stuff that you did. Days traveled, 366 days, distance covered 113,448 kilometers, and the Earth is only 40,000. So you went a few laps around, three laps around the Earth, but a whole heap of other stuff that you learn along the way. But I'm a massive believer that travel teaches us so much. But let's go back to the first trip. Take us back, man.
You know what? Actually, that's a good question, because the first trip, when it started, I was thinking about how I really got into travel. And when I was, obviously we're here in Brisbane and this is where I live. And when I started, I think my passion for travel started coming when I met this guy working after TAFE and stuff. And he was a backpacker. And then I started thinking, there's so much to see. He's telling me all these things. And so my first trip, actually, the biggest one was we were just talking about before, how we got so much here in Australia. I was just like, I want to go see Australia. So I took 18 months, took my car, literally left Brisbane and just drove around the whole thing for 18 months, working and stopping in different places.
How old were you at this point?
That's a good question. I think I was maybe something like 21, something like that. And so,
that's like what backpackers come here to do, but not many Aussies do, right?
I know, because the thing is, it's like everyone that I was meeting along the way was either just retirees, or people from legit retirees, and just other backpackers.
Yep.
And so that was really cool. And I think that really opened my eyes in regards to sort of so much about Australia and just getting outside of what we're about. And, I just realized there's so much to see. And that was essentially my first trip. And then I had the opportunity. I was I've had the cards dealt pretty good in my life. And, I've had the opportunity to travel with family, and that sort of just escalated that. And then I think things started really picking up when I became a travel agent.
Yeah,
started doing that, and then I took that gap year. So the stats you were going through, that was this 1 year that I took to go through South and Central America, to see
366 days in South and Central America.
Yeah, every country. I was on a mission to just tear through everything, and so I did. And yeah, I learned a lot from that, which is really cool. And then since then, when I got back, I decided, fuck it, I want to be a flight attendant, and so I did that, and that just escalated, and then I started just smashing through all these countries while I was working and traveling, really.
What is it about travel that you enjoy?
We're talking about, and I think it's just briefly before the podcast, it's the why. Why do people want to travel? You don't have to necessarily go overseas, right? But I think for me, it's like a vehicle, and it's that vehicle of growth where it's those experiences that you wouldn't get. I think just for people maybe listening to this podcast, or even thinking, oh yeah, I want to travel, you could literally just be here in Brisbane doing the same shit every day and still get those experiences. But that just might be a different vehicle for everyone. And I think I just enjoy it because there's good food, really cool people, crazy experiences that you don't get. And I think it just opens your mind to your values and beliefs.
Yeah, really, well, it puts you in situations where you got to question things. I think when we're in a comfortable environment, we don't ever stop or take time to think, why am I doing what I'm doing? Or you get put in situations where, I remember one time when I was in Istanbul, somewhere like that. With my ex-partner, and we were 19, and we were trying to work out the whole train systems, and not many people spoke English, and we jumped on this train, but I was confused. So I was standing on the platform, she got on, and the door shut really quickly, and I just remember her face going, no. And I was like, oh no, because we hadn't got phones. This was back before Facebook was really a thing, so you had to go to the internet cafes. And I was like, shit, do I get on the next train and try and go down and hope she gets off at the next stop, or do I wait here? And I was just sitting there for 20 minutes, and I was like, no, I'm going after it, and took the risk. Luckily, she got off at the next stop, and I met her there. But in that moment, overwhelm and panic. And I think having experiences like that has helped me deal with adversity and decision making in the future. Whereas I think, even travel locally, if you don't try new things, you never get those experiences. You never really have to make it, not a life or death, but a pretty quick decision around what the fuck am I going to do? So most people just, once again, remain passive through their life.
100%. I think what I like about that as well is like with your ex or girlfriend at that time, you would have also learned something about each other. I feel like you're really like, there's one thing going to IKEA with your partner, right? But there's another thing to travel. And I think that's really cool because I say it's like there's one thing to get stuck in a lift, but I'm really like, because I was just saying, like, I'm seeing this new person at the moment who's my partner, and I'm like, I really want to go traveling with her, because I really want to see what we're about. And I think that's really cool that, especially in a country like that, like you guys would have really been sort of learning, testing.
Definitely. It brings out your true colors. How well do you deal with adversity? How prepared are you to figure it out? Like, I also know for me, unless it's in life, and this is one thing I'm working on, is trying to be more attentive and if something's not going my way, or if I'm in a shop, I'm like, I'll just find it rather than asking for help. And I do that in a lot of areas of my life outside of business, super productive and effective, but in life, and I know my missus gets the shits with it because it's like, just go ask them for help, we'll get this sorted, that sorted. And when you're overseas, you're like, I need to figure this out because otherwise I'm going to miss my flight or I'm going to not get to my accommodation. There's more on the line than just your time, but obviously when you think about things, time is the most valuable thing. And even just travel for yourself, did you find when you're traveling and you're meeting other travelers or adventurers, everyone is just so much happier because they don't have the deadlines of life and the expectations and the pressures going on?
Yeah, like I think depending on where it is, there's always like some form of pressure. Like what I noticed is when I went to South America, a lot of those people are happier, but they're in even more extreme circumstances where there's more pressure, not with like work, but just like trying to just survive. Like in some of the countries I was going through, it's like just the utilities like water and electricity and groceries. Like I'm thinking of like Venezuela as an example. Like one day I was with this chick and she wanted to buy tomatoes, and then it went up like twice the cost. And like, that's like, and then you go on top of that, they've got like trying to be happy. Like when I think even another example, I was in Myanmar doing a project back.
Where's Myanmar?
Yeah, so Burma.
Okay,
like near just above Thailand. And I think that one, even that's a recent example that I think about. And when you talk about their happiness, I think people, we think stress as like work, paying the bills. When you meet some of these people in different countries, their happiness is like the same because they don't have like the bullshit that they've got to think about. And this kid, I can't even teach fucking English because I didn't even do good in school, but I was teaching this English class to these kids, all right? And at the end of it, this kid's like, so like, how do you deal with stress in these situations? And I thought, oh my God, like you are like, you're happy, you obviously got your family, and you're asking me like where you got people dying around you. Because like this place I was staying at was like a center to help like the homeless and the people who are sick and all that. And he's like living in this area. And I thought, wow, who am I to tell you that you're dealing with stress or you're not happy? It just put a big perspective on things, especially when I got back. And even just recently, I was asking people sort of like how I changed after that 1 year. And so long story short, I noticed that my happiness essentially didn't necessarily change, but I took time to really just appreciate the things that I took for granted. So
what was one of the main things that you took for granted?
Family, 100%. Like family, and also like I know I was talking about it, but safety. Like I can tell you now, like there was a lot of incidences where I'd be watching my back a lot, and it was just like, and I remember getting back, like wearing my phone like this in my, like really for a fair bit, and even looking people on the street going, mate, someone's going to take your phone. But like the things I really took for granted was safety, like utilities, like water, electricity, I work in government, family, people that actually like cared for me and sheltered me. Like I know that sounds so stupid, but that's honestly when I got back, I was just like, oh my God. And ever since I got back, I've just like, you know what, I need to really just value those things, because it's not anyone's fault, or even mine at the time, to not appreciate those things. But it's only once you go out and you really see, wow, there's other people who are worse off than me. It does make you appreciate what they're going through, and maybe, you know, like I was saying, like another life that I could have lived. Yeah.
It's awesome that you touch on that, because I don't know whether it's, some CEO talks about like at some point just go and eat shit for a week or for a day and like live, you know, there's a charity, I don't know whether it's Australia-wide or worldwide, but I know in Brisbane they do the CEO sleep out, where
at the Gabba,
where it's obviously not real homelessness, but they take a sleeping bag and sleep out, you know.
Do you think I've thought about that, because it's like I remember when I was working for as flight attendant, the CEO, I think Paul Scara, and I thought, like, very good guy, I think he's a legit CEO. And I thought, are these guys getting like these prissy couches where they're
well, that's,
are they really sleeping?
I'm not sleeping under bridges and stuff, are they?
No, well, I don't think so.
Yeah, so, and like you look at in Brisbane at the moment, it's been bucketing down all morning. So you think about being homeless, and you know, potentially your swag or whatever you've got is just getting absolutely saturated. 100%. And then so like that tough stuff puts life into perspective, and it really makes you appreciate how good we've got it. But going back to what you were saying earlier about you know, we have stresses depending on where people live, right? And it's all relative, right? Obviously stress for me might be different to you, etc. And not to take away from anyone, but for most of us, especially those who are lucky enough to be able to listen to a podcast with two legends right now, is our decisions aren't life or death.
No, they're not. Right. And when you put it in perspective,
when you take a moment to step back, and you know, like you said, you see homeless people, or you go to the third world countries where there's literally dead bodies in the street, or there's no clean running water. It's like a lot of the situations going on in their life that they're not even really stressed about. Like they're still happy, as you were saying, but obviously there is a bit that most people wouldn't survive in that in the Western world. Yet the stresses you know, I speak for myself, is like not having enough money, or not having enough status, or not getting enough sleep, like just simple things. And once again, like I said, it is relative to the lifestyle that I live, but I also love to take a moment to step back and go, well, overall life's pretty fucking good. I'm very, very fortunate. And I think many people don't take time to do that. And that's why we build up a lot of challenges and issues in our life that, once again, relative, but not life or death. And even, you know, a lot of listeners to this podcast are in the States. And when I went to the States, and once again, I've only been to San Diego, LA, and a few other places, but LA for me, I was like, you know, I'm fucking, as soon as the sun started going down, I'm locking myself in this apartment. I stayed in downtown LA. Yeah.
Downtown.
Yeah.
I walked through that by accident, and I saw the people on the street, and I was like, I'm in the wrong part of town.
Oh, it's an accident, right? Like, for those who haven't been to LA, you think like Brisbane City is like, the city is pretty cool, right? Like, or kind of, I don't really like the city, but most people go to city centers. That's where you're drawn, because infrastructure, etc.
Yeah.
And I'm like, downtown LA, right? Let's stay in the thick of it.
There's a good downtown LA, which I stayed at, and then there's like really downtown LA.
And I was in the really downtown. Like I'm walking, there's a homeless guy with a trolley just abusing me, and I'm like, with my ex-missus, I'm like, I think we're going to get shot or stabbed here.
Yeah.
I've never felt so unsafe in my life. So going back to you talking about safety, I've never stressed about safety in Brisbane, unless it's like 2 a.m. in the valley and you're walking around drugged up people.
Like, honestly, that's nothing.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I look at that, and when I was young, I used to get a little paranoid. But I'm like, man, like we are so well off here.
You very unlikely that you're going to get shot or stabbed.
Yeah. But you know what, can I just say, like, to that point, I know I speak with some, like I work with women, and you know, they obviously still get like really scared about walking home late at night. And I think, you know what, hey, legitimate concern, and not to take anything away from that. And it took me a bit of time to understand that from that perspective.
100%.
But when it's like a woman in another country where like they're not even respected whatsoever, that just adds another level of safety. And like, going back to the happiness and safety, like everyone has a high degree and everything is valid, but just like to the extreme as well.
Definitely. Yeah, mate. And yeah, for me, the reason why I don't go out in the valley, or in general, after a certain time,
don't lie, you used to go out right back in the day.
Yeah, in the day, yeah, 100%. But I was one of the problems, right? I was now I get really nervous when there's people who are on drugs or extremely drunk, because you might bump shoulders with someone, some big dick swinging dude tries to punch you for no reason or whatever. And I hate being in those environments. So I can only then imagine the next layer for women, where you've got some fucking seedy creeps rolling around. So, for me, I try to avoid the situation. If there's challenges going on, I just avoid situations.
And that's the thing when I was traveling, like, you don't necessarily want to try and avoid, like, if someone's in distress, like, you got to like sort of pick your battles as well. But the thing that kept me pretty okay when I was traveling during that year is you got to spot those situations, whether it be pickpocketers. Like, even when I got robbed one time, I knew that was potentially coming.
Tell us the story, bro. What happened?
What's so funny is, like, I had a memory pop up of me and a friend where we traveled to Morocco, and I got robbed with her. And I was just like, hey, remember this? And then I was just like, oh, like, and she was telling me, like, she remembers the experience of her getting dropped off by the police after we got robbed, and her grandma was like, what the hell's happened? But the situation was like, instead of, look, if you're in the situation and it comes at you, you can't really do anything about it, but you need to be like switched on and don't give opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think that's really key. And that can just be anything, not necessarily putting yourself in danger, but like any aspect of life. And so I was in Brazil. And when I was traveling, look, I'm not gonna lie, like, it was just a year of good food, sex, and happiness. Like,
what more do you want?
Yeah, no, like, I went on a few Tinder dates, and it was really cool. And the objective of those dates was really to like get to know people and have a good time. And that's why I'm still friends with this girl today. There's like, honestly, like, we just have a good friendship. So I was on a Tinder date with her, a second Tinder date, and we were out, it was like a carnival, and we're out back of we were just like a block away, and a gang, I wouldn't say a gang, a group of kids, probably between 16 to, I'm gonna say, like 21. Probably about 13 of them. And they walked by, and I knew they were walking past us. And then all of a sudden, one of the guys turned, and then he started coming up. Mind you, my Portuguese is shit. All I know is oi, which is hello, and obrigado, which is thank you. And all I was doing is speaking Spanish because I didn't know anything else. And so I knew there was a little bit of a words exchange, and all of a sudden he's just like grabbed her shoulder for the bag. And then when he's done that, the rest of the guys have all just turned, right? It was like game on. Next thing I know, there's 3 guys grabbing my wrist trying to take off like my watch. And so anyways, it was pretty intense. And like in that situation, I just gave them the watch, and you just never know if they got weapons or anything
exactly.
Like that.
Like, is a watch worth your life?
It's no, not with that. And so some things you got to really just weigh up. Like, I think the like, if I even wanted to try and start one of them, is like, then what's going to happen? Like
12 others are kicking the shit out of it.
Exactly. You got to weigh it off. So long story, we were in shock, and then she's like, right. Like, someone was there, and it's like, get the police. And she's like, right. So we got the local police actually ended up chasing some of them, and like during the mayhem, apprehended, went to the police station, and got 5 of them. And I just remember, it was a really interesting experience, because I remember like the look, and even my friend told me, she's like, I remember like one of the wives came over who was pregnant and wanted to let them go, and she's like, no. And I'm like, I don't even remember that, but all I recall is the feeling like year or like a week later, I just thought I had empathy, thinking like, man, those guys, like, I know it was like a group thing when you got that herd mentality, like you're not thinking, but I just was just like, some of them would have learned to pick up those behaviors out of almost desperation sometimes, I think.
Definitely.
And I just think in 10 years, like, they're not going to be that person that they did. So in some way, I felt really sorry for them, because when I saw them in the police station, there was this police guy kicking the shit out of one of them. I was like, mate, these guys are hopefully going to like turn something around, because if they don't, they're just on a path.
The poverty is really bad in Brazil, isn't it?
Some places, like in this one place, it was a little run down, and so like these kids might have just been living potentially in like a local favela where they really didn't have much opportunity to really get, like, don't get me wrong, like they could have got public education or something, but really just like the opportunities, hanging out with the friends, that they probably would not have known any better.
But it talks to like social awareness. Like, a lot of, when you travel, you start to realize that things are done differently everywhere. And I think one of the bad things about social media is everyone's on one platform, for example, like Instagram, which is an incredible tool, but it's also fucking toxic as all buggery, because you've got, let's say 1 billion users on there, right? And all of us are from different environments, and how the laws, the regulations, what you tolerate, what you don't tolerate are very different. But when we're all on the one platform, we expect that everyone should be thinking, acting, and behaving the same way that we do. And I see it, you know, when you go to Bali, right? Bali, there's a lot of Australians over there, and they carry on the same way we do here over there. And like Balinese people are so beautiful, so kind. And then you've got a lot of Australians that carry on like absolute fucking wankers and disrespect their traditions, disrespect their property, even, or the people. And you're just like, why do we lack the awareness to go, hey, we're in someone else's country. Let's, you know, this is how they do things. This is how they treat people. Let's, you know, experience their culture, experience what's important to them, rather than getting absolutely buckled and being wankers, giving the Australian name or people a bad way of thinking. Much like going to Brazil, like you wouldn't just walk around with your phone or valuables on you, maybe necessarily, because things like that can happen. And I'm not just saying Brazil, but there's plenty of places where we need to, you know, before you go there, maybe do a bit of research. What's the safety like? What's traditions? What, you know, some countries women have to wear full burqas and stuff like that. And it's like, rather than going, why the fuck do I have to do that? It's like, well, we're going into their way of doing things. If you want to enjoy their culture and everything that's there to do it, do as they do. Don't.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because you just reminded me of a time I was on the Inca Trail and I walked past these people and I was like, buenos dias, like morning. And this like American lady's like, well, where we're from, we say good morning. And I was like, and I just thought, this is the exact example to what you're saying. And like, look, I like when we're in those places, you want to sort of be a little bit clued on, but also that's the reason why I never actually wanted to go to Bali, because I was just like, oh my God, like I'm not down a cooter, but fuck. But like I did go there and it was really good, because I got a friend who stayed here for like 5 years, and so she's Balinese, and honestly, like it's absolutely fine. But I think some people, when they travel, they just think it's an opportunity just to like let loose or take the piss. And it's like, well, everyone's got different reasons for travel, which I've noticed. Like some people obviously just want to really just like live the high life, and then people just want to relax, and then people really want to like really experience the culture and stuff. So everyone's got different reasons for travel as well, and I do sort of respect that. But I think you really just want to try and understand and take consideration of the people that you're going to be crossing paths with as well.
I think that teaches you a good skill for just life in general. Like, and even when you come back to wherever you guys live, like for us, Brisbane, it's like just be considerate of other people. Yes, you might have varying opinions and certain things like that, which is completely okay, but it doesn't mean you have to be a complete bellend towards a person or belittle them or whatever. It's like, if you disagree with someone or don't like the way people do things, carry on. Like just move on. You don't need to have that in your life, but people hold on to it, want to change it and want to get their point across, which is why they, you know, even look at COVID with the vaccine.
I was going to say, like, that's a perfect example.
Yeah, it's the perfect example. And I don't care which side of the fence you sit on. If you're still a good person, I'll fucking have a beer with you.
100%.
But there's always going to be people trying to create divide, because it, you know, makes some people feel very significant because they've got something to rally behind. And once again, if that's your belief, awesome. But really think about how much is it playing out, like impacting your life? Like for me, you know, I haven't been to the doctor for 10 years. I haven't had a fucking needle or anything, but I got the vax because I was like, well, I want to travel. I want to do things and I couldn't give a fuck. I had it and I don't even think about it now that I'm talking about it. But because long term, I'm not worried. Like I drink alcohol. I used to take drugs. Like what am I saying?
I saw a video with this guy saying something like that, and I just thought, wow, so true.
Yeah,
like shit. I've been in the Brisbane River. Okay, so that's dangerous enough.
Yeah, exactly. So, and the flip side, if your choice is to not, awesome. Like we don't need to big note ourselves. And I think, you know, choice is what it really boils down for people. But you know, there's so many other examples throughout history and throughout life where choice is not there. Yeah. And it's, to me, it's like, well, I'm just focusing on what I can focus on. And once again, I don't talk about it globally or anything like that. I don't have a global reach, but like, you know, with my people, my mates and stuff, it's not a conversation topic because I don't give a fuck whether you are or you aren't. If you're trying to have a go at me for whether I am or I am not, then I'm not having a conversation. Or let's talk about anything else.
Yeah, I think people are it's almost like a mirror sometimes.
Yep.
Like they're really showing what's really happening behind the surface. And like I do respect like everyone's opinion in regards to vax or not vax. And you know, I got a friend who hasn't got it for religious reasons. I'm like, hey, power to you. And like, we don't even, we just need to get that 80 or 90% so we can just move on. And like, if that 10% don't want to get done, then hey, all good. Like,
exactly.
I respect people who are for it and with it. But with the vaccination, like when it comes to travel, like I have to be real. Like if you're not getting vaccinated, you probably got to catch it. And like, or maybe depending on how much it spreads. So I'm not trying to be like all like instill fear and like get vaccinated to travel. But when I went to South America, I had to get the yellow fever, right? And that yellow fever, I don't know necessarily the history about it, but I can tell you now, with this new world and COVID, I've been thinking more about it and just with my travel experience. And like, I can tell you now, it's got to be almost mandatory. Like, I'm just going to call it out now so we can look back on this in years and be like, yeah,
I told you so.
Yeah, like if I'm wrong, like 100% aware. But I honestly think what's going to happen is in, 2021. So I reckon by 2024 to 2025, most world would have adopted a system where if you want to enter a country, you're going to have to get vaccinated. And if you want to board a flight, most depending on the airline's policy, they're going to be like, hey, show us your vax form. And if you haven't got it, you're not going to travel. And so for me, that was actually the main, I was actually even trying to find out what type of vax I needed, because I know they say, but some countries might not recognize it.
Right.
And look, I think the world is obviously still constantly changing. But with that, I think if you really want to be traveling, I think it's just got to be a normal thing. And this is a perfect example with the States. Well, every state's almost like its own country in Australia right now.
Yeah. It's how wild is that? Like,
if you said this 2 years ago, like every state would almost be like its own country, because my folks just live pretty close near the border. And I've just been calling North Korea half the time, because like that's how crazy it's been. I don't watch too much news, but that's got to be the norm, traveling international.
Yeah.
So if people just either got to get used to it, or if they don't want to accept it, then hey, like work with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's, you know, if you don't like it, I would say just move somewhere where your values and beliefs align with their government or what, you know. Some people go, that's so. And that's completely fine, but it's been like that forever. You know, if you jump in a car and you speed, you're going to get a speeding ticket, or you're going to get pulled over the police, and you got to follow that process. And fucking sucks. I'd love to be able to drive a car as fast as I wanted to. But there's unfortunately things, and I always think big picture, because to me this is like a little blimp. I'm like, well, I want to be able to travel. We have to travel for work, so. You know, and I'm not taking away my choice. I'm like, well, what's the end goal that I want for my life? I want happiness, I want travel, I want experiences, and I want fun. Cool. If these things aren't going to affect me too much, why allow it to be a big problem?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's just not worth putting your energy in, because there's so many other things you got to think about. But yeah, honestly, like this country's became countries like turned into 7 countries, and they might as well like be thrown in like, well, you got to get like you traveled back up at Airlie. Hey, because I went up there with my folks, and the good thing was, like, I just like, guys, I was pre-planning this. Like, congrats on the wedding, by the way.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, and did you get a song done?
Yeah.
I was I haven't listened to it, but
mate, get on it. Yeah, it's a good tune.
Music video as well.
Yeah, I'll make it. Let me show you a quick little glimpse.
Yeah, please. Yeah. So I think to that point, we traveled interstate. We went up to Airlie around May or whatever, and I think, like, you know, that was good, because you're in your own country. You don't need you almost got to like need visas at this rate. But look, in summary, I think this is just going to show people moving forward in the world, and like, look, hopefully, regardless if you're vaccinated or not, like, hopefully it works with you, because I would hate for someone not to travel and they just get limited by that opportunity. So
and once again, we all have a choice, and at the end of the day, it's like you get it or you don't, and there's pros and cons with both. Right. So you got to work out what works better. And this is my opinion, because once again, I don't give a fuck. I just do what works well for me in my lifestyle. Here's a little bit of the film clip. Oh, it's not even playing through here. Oh, I got it turned down. For those who haven't listened to the song, we're watching the film clip right now, and you better go. Yeah, this will come through. But the film clip for this song is just of the wedding day. So we had Jaden, who's an absolute champion, just film the whole week. And then the wedding day, and then just whipped it up as a film clip.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I have to watch it.
Mate, get on it for sure.
Yeah. Actually, did you get like a family member or friend make up the ring or something like that?
Yeah. I don't even know where my ring is. That's the bad thing. Like, I don't wear jewelry. So,
well, look, maybe a watch. Yeah. That's about it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And Hogan, my mate, incredible jeweler, made the most gnarly ring. Like, I think that's so cool. So sick. I genuinely love it. Like, I'll wear it. It's in the box out the front. I just don't wear it during the week because I don't want to. Like, it's pretty big on the top, and I always think I could deglove myself because and I'm like, I don't even work on the tools anymore. But I don't want to scratch it when I'm lifting weights and stuff. So I actually just ordered off Amazon yesterday these rubber rings. Yeah, like I think I got a set of 6 of them or something. They're like they look like a wedding ring, but they're just plastic or rubber. So then you can wear them during the week, like for me, and pick up barbells and stuff. And they don't.
Gotcha. Yeah.
They're like a wedding ring, but not the real thing. And then I'll wear the real thing on the weekends.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So I don't know what size I got because there was all these different sizes and they're like 17 mil. And I'm like, oh, let's start with the smallest. And if it doesn't fit, I'll go by the next size. Exactly. I could have just got a tape measure, but anyway, didn't happen.
I really like the fact, I think I saw it maybe on Facebook and I was like, oh, like that's really cool. Like super sentimental.
Yeah, I got the Amy's initials on it. It's really gnarly.
That's cool. This is what happens when you like start settling down and you start doing these things, which is really cool.
Yeah. There it is. So it's like rose gold.
Yeah.
It's sort of signet ring, I think. But yeah, I never thought but now that I got it, I'm like, I actually enjoy wearing it.
Yeah.
It's cool. Getting old.
Hogan's getting a free shout there.
Yeah. Oh mate, he's been in the paper. He's been everywhere. He's loving it.
That's cool.
Which is cool for him. But yeah, moving like we were having this conversation on one of the calls a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was a live and we were speaking about it before, but there's a lot of people who want to travel.
Yeah.
And they always talk about it, but they never do it. Right. And
yeah, there was that gentleman, one of our guys from the group. Like I watched the relive because I'm a really bad member and don't rock up to the Friday morning ones, which you guys had. I'm just like, I'm working late. So I'm just like, you know what? Watch the rewatch.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool.
Sleeping in. We'd love to have you on there live, but
yeah, I was doing it before, and then with this new job, I'm doing like super late, so my body clock's pushed out to the point where my partner's been calling me. I'm like, "Hey, look, I really need to get to bed, guys. Like later, I'm gonna cut this down." She understands, but that's how bad it's getting right now. Because Anyway, so on one of the lives that you guys did, obviously I rewatched it to see what's going on with the group, and there's this one guy, and you guys like caught him pretty good with some of the answers, which is good because I was thinking it while he was talking about it, and he was like. You might recall this, but he was really struggling, I think. And it was really cool to see him come out like that. Yeah. I really like shit like that when we got members really just putting it out there. And look, there's a time and place, I guess, for it because you guys
100%.
Yeah. But with him, I think he was just struggling. Like, look, like if you're in Sydney or Melbourne, wow, power to you. Because I did 2 weeks lockdown. When I lost my in the same week, lost my job, everything shut down. And then I only had to do 2 weeks quarantine, where I live before hotel quarantine. And so that was tough, but with those guys, which is where I guess he was located, he was really feeling it.
Yep.
And I think I could see hindsight was kicking in where it's like, I should have taken that fucking trip. Why didn't I do this? But you guys called him out and were like, why do you need to do the trip? See, like people listening again, like travel is just a vehicle. Like you can have any other vehicle. And it's like, what is it that you are trying to get that you're really looking for?
Yeah. That's what we don't. And once again, this is the beauty of travel, but it's also the beauty of just taking time to sit and think about what you want from your life, what you get from things that you're currently doing or people that you're currently spending time with. And if it's not aligned or if it's not giving you what you want, then you start asking different questions around like, well, what am I looking for? What is missing? And you start changing it up. But a lot of us are just fucking passengers. Like we're literally just day in, day out. It's the same thing. And life goes so like COVID's been here for 2 years. I don't want to keep talking about COVID, but COVID's been here for 2 years. That's gone for me, sorry, once again, it feels like it's gone very fast and life is going fast. So, if I ever make a decision, I literally threw my whiteboard out every year and we'll be doing a webinar on this and we do it every year, but planning a year out, right? And you have the calendar. And I think about all the things that I want to achieve throughout or experience throughout a year, right? And that can be from holidays to long weekends to obviously business and various other things that I feel like I want to do. And then when I decide where they're going in the year, I'll book something that commits me to it, whether it's the accommodation or a flight or creating the group if I'm going with friends, because then you're committed to it. Because often we go, yeah, I'm doing this trip to Fiji next year. And then I'll see someone in 12 months, like, how was Fiji? I got too busy or it didn't happen. It's like, well, we need to make the time to actually do these things so you can have the experiences.
Yeah, good call out.
I keep talking about it at the moment because obviously got married recently, and I read a book, 18 Summers, which is talking about 18 summers.
I remember you mentioned that on the post, and I was like, this is really good.
Yeah, and I'm doing the same before starting a family. I'm like, right, 2 years. So that's 104 weekends left. And not saying my life's going to suck after having a family. It's just going to be different. So what are all the things that are easier just when it's only me to make a decision, or me and myself and Amy? So I'm like, every weekend since it's been jam-packed, because I'm like, right, from Friday afternoon till Sunday night, I'm fitting in every possible thing I can, even if I feel tired, even if it feels like too much of an effort. I'm like, because there's going to come a time where it's going to be even harder.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's where I took that year, because I came out of a relationship. I'm like, I'm taking this gap year now. If I don't do it, I'm never going to do it. And I think, to your point, people like, they have these goals that they want to set. It doesn't have to be like that holiday or whatever, but like with the goal setting, like you're saying, like how you set out the year. Some like I sometimes do that, where I even did a vision board. So that can just be as powerful as like setting the intention.
Always be reminded.
And one thing I sharpened up this year, which really helped with the men's group that you were doing, was sort of break like the 12-week plans. So I don't use you. So shout out, if you guys want to get on.
There's a 12-week game plan over there, just hanging out there.
I do use them, but like I actually don't use the physical book, because what I've been using is like a bujo journal, they call it, which is a bullet journal. So I just write everything in that, and so I use sort of like the concept.
The framework,
and so I think what's really good is, like, even if you plan something in the like in the 12 weeks, like, hey, I want to do this, like, you don't necessarily have to do it. And I think we have these big goals, which it's like we need to achieve, but shit, just set some micro goals. That's a big thing I think can help. And if you don't get that goal, like with that guy who really wanted to travel, like, hey, you might have missed it last year. That's cool. Just give yourself permission to like just accept that and try and put it in for the next year. As long as it's on the radar and you're not pushing it off. I think that's key.
Definitely. And that's the same thing, like with game plans, with anything. It's like there's roadmaps logically for everything. But once again, going back to, I'm fortunate every day to help blokes realize they can take more ownership for various areas of their life. Right? That's what I love doing. And if the game plan that I provide, or if certain things that are going on in your life aren't working for you, but there's some things that you can learn from that and implement it and build upon it, do that. Like we're so unique and so individuals, but we're like, oh, that's the game plan Lockie made and it works well for him, so I got to do the exact same thing. And it's like, no, you don't. Take what works from, like, if the framework roughly works and you want to do it in the way you do it and it's working for you, fucking more power to you, do that. But a lot of us just, once again, aren't taking that responsibility that we need to take to get the outcomes, because maybe with more responsibility, there's more risk, and there is.
Yeah. And with that responsibility, I think I was thinking about it, like when I joined actually the group, it was from a place of wanting to push. So I feel like you're either in two states of mind when you really want to grow. It's like when you've hit rock bottom, which I sort of happened actually a little bit in the year, like in regards to relationships. I was just like, well, what the fuck is going on here? And I called out the group. I'm like, hey, and then I got some advice. I was like, yeah, okay, cool. But with myself, it was like, I really want to get involved with more guys, because I feel like I'm geared towards like hanging out, not hanging out, but I got like a lot more like women that tend to have
fair
guys,
play.
and I'm trying to get more guys in my life. Legend Ian, I watched his podcast, and like people like that.
He's a man, eh?
Oh, dude, if I can live half the life that guy's lived as well.
Literally every time in the WhatsApp group, he's on a new adventure. You're like, when do you work? But he does work, obviously, but he just maximizes his time because he knows what he wants to do.
And I think like that's why I've joined the group, because, and also more importantly, always push myself. And I think you don't want to be that person where it's like you've hit rock bottom, but there's nothing wrong with that. If you need that, that's cool. You need those moments. And then what you do is obviously with what, like the 12-week game plan, it's like, okay, what do we need to do to try and just pick ourselves back up? Because like I've definitely in different areas had times where I've just gone, shit, this is not working.
Yeah.
And it's okay. I think just I think I was saying it this year. I had a 12-week game plan like third quarter, and there was one thing I probably missed, and I was just like, you know what, it's cool, it's not a problem, we'll get there.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
you reassess. The whole point of failing is you work out what you can improve upon next time. It might have been the goal was too big, it might have been the actions weren't the right actions, it might have been you got distracted, it might have been you didn't really want the goal in the first place. All of that's awesome feedback. Because now you know why you didn't achieve what you were working to achieve. But a lot of us go, oh, like we make failure a part of who we are rather than just something that happened that we can learn from.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because every year, right, you remind me, like every year ever since like in the last 3 years, I sort of set a theme word for the year.
I remember you saying this,
Yeah, and what's really cool is like the year when in 2020 I set the year for Rise. And
I like it.
Let's be honest. No, not many people were rising in 2020. Okay.
Yeah.
But I think like you know that like everyone knows the movie Dark Knight Rises, right? There's like that scene, and I think yeah. And so during the year, what I realized is that the word for me was like the rise was the step up and really take it, but it wasn't the case. And going back to what you're saying, failing, there's nothing wrong for falling or failing, because honestly, when I had everything, like I was a flight attendant, like I was doing all this stuff that I had, and that all just fell through. And then I thought, oh, I've really like fucking just dropped everything. But through that, I actually had 2020 was actually one of the best and worst years for me.
Yeah.
And so that failure, I can't even say it right now, was actually honestly, I think if we don't fail more, or even like learn from our mistakes, we're not growing. And obviously that's just like common sense, but really we just need to experience more of that sometimes. And I think we just got to take it with a bit of gratitude.
Yeah, definitely. 100% the fact, like you just go back to looking at children. They fail every day from trying to walk, trying to do anything. They suck.
Yeah.
But they just keep going and they get excited about it. Whereas us, we suck at, like there's so much stuff that I suck at. Like guitar, and there's things I know I hold myself back because I'm worried about judgment, or I'm worried about not being good at it, because there's things that I am really good at. Much like everyone, we all have things that we're awesome at. We just want to be awesome at it. But when you sit back and logically think, how did I become awesome at this? Well, it's like, I've made a lot of mistakes, I've failed, but I've also put a lot of time in. Yeah. And that's how we get better at anything. So I think the people who are really successful in whatever it is that they're wanting to be successful in, they're the people who understand failure as a part of that process, and it doesn't define who we are as people.
Yeah. I think a big thing I've been really thinking about recently, I was talking about, you put that book up for the month with Jim Quick.
Oh yeah, fantastic book. Limitless.
Yeah, and that's actually been really cool. And one thing he's been talking about is mindset, and I really realized like we really need to let go of the beliefs that we hold for ourselves, because like you're saying with the kids, I think there's only two things that I don't know where I heard it, when they grow up, or babies or something, I don't know if this is true, someone like call me out if it's wrong, they only react to loud noises, and they're only like fear of falling. If that's the only two things, then we approach life in that. I'm just like, we could do anything. And that's what I've been doing as a hobby. Like I've been trying to learn how to skate, but I've never done it because I literally would fall off the board all the time. And I was just like, no, fuck this. But then I'm just like, you know what? I need to get rid of the belief. And even my dad made a comment, like he was watching me skateboard. He's like, I'd never do that. And I sort of saw, I was like, you know what? Like I can see how much belief really holds us back from doing the things that we want. Yeah.
We had an event last night for Movember and Lululemon, and one of the questions I asked
sick.
Yeah, it was awesome. One of the questions I asked the lads was like, what's one thing you used to love doing as a kid or you miss from your childhood? And it was funny, like a lot of the guys were talking about how time, when you're a kid, you don't have responsibility, or the concept of time is endless, right? Or just the ability to imagine and dream. And obviously we lose that as we get going. It's like, I used to skateboard a whole heap.
Yeah.
And once I reached a certain age, well, I got bullied, but once I reached a certain age, I'm like, I'm too old for this now. And then I was like, there's other things in my life where I've been like, I'm too old for this now. But it's like, these are all the playful things that made me feel alive. And I think a lot of us have things in our life that maybe we've stopped doing, whether it's from a childhood or from an adolescent age. And we're like, no, I'm too old now. I've got to buy the house, be an adult and talk about work and stocks and boring shit like that, rather than just going, well, George last night like, I just want to play chasey. I was like, fucking, I'm competitive, so I'm keen for a big game of chasey. But he's like, when you're a kid, you're playing chasey or hide and seek, and it's like, it's fun. And there's a competitive element to it. You're hanging out with your mates. Like, why can't we go, play a big game of chasey in the park? It'd be weird. I even thinking about it, I'm like, I wouldn't do that because I'd be judged. But at the same time, I would love to fucking do that because it'd be fun as.
Yeah. It's funny. I was listening to a podcast and this lady was talking about an experience where she was listening to or sharing the experience of like the parents.
Move the mic up just a smid.
Is that
that's way better.
Sorry, guys. Apologize for that. They're probably just listening to this podcast halfway through. Oh, finally, fuck, he's fixed his mic. Hopefully, it hasn't been too.
No, it wasn't. But there was the occasional drop out.
I was like, is that okay? All right, sorry about that.
It'll. The cool thing about technology now is you can get it to balance it out, so it does that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right. Genius.
Yeah, it's like these days, even with photos, it's like you can just edit this.
It's just you go from not having a six pack to face tune and bam, ripped. Who needs a gym?
Shit, I lost my train of thought, but I think it was just like to the point of being playing, having fun. Sometimes like I put this like persona on sometimes when I go to work and it's like all business, and sometimes I really need to remind myself just to have fun. And like this lady was talking about essentially her clients and how they were playing with her daughter, and they were like, doing like role playing, how they're playing as cats, and like
she's awesome.
Yeah, and like she was just trying to make the point like how their relationship, how they could, why would you do that with a child and not bring that to your own life? And it's really weird. It was like she's a BDSM coach or something. I know it's really weird.
Yeah, you were saying that's one of the things you're interested in at the moment. Because I sent you a few questions and I was like BDSM, and I was like, I don't even know what I know what it like. I have an idea of it, but I don't know what the fuck BDSM stands for. So, what does it mean?
Look, I'm still trying to learn, but it's really like an element of play where you can bring in like your sexual experience where it's like submissive dominance, but I think there's a lot more to it than that instead of that 50 grades of bullshit.
I had to walk out of that film though. Yeah, it was fucking
look, I think I did watch half of it. I'm trying to remember where I saw it, but anyway, I think the thing is like I think there's a point, like I know we're getting on this topic so fucking random, but
it's beautiful thing.
Yeah, well, the thing is like I'm always looking at different areas of life, right? And I think there's something interesting about that. Like I'm always listening to different things, like really looking outside the scope. And so I was listening to this coach, and I think something about it is really cool. Is like whether it's like an art or any element, you can definitely bring something of play and that's the thing. Like when we become adults, like what you were saying, it's like you got to get the job, get the house. Something like that it's like a way for you to express those things that you want that you normally wouldn't. And that can just be anything in life, not just that element. So I think that's interesting. Also, more importantly, I think there's an element of communication with, obviously, if you've got a partner or a wife, it's not for necessarily everyone. Like you can be super vanilla, power to you.
Vanilla.
Yeah, not judging you, but I think just at the end of the day, I think it's like I'm looking at ways, obviously, to incorporate not like bringing that playfulness, and like it can just be in so many different forms.
I believe you have to grow and evolve. Like
100%.
Here's a challenge for you guys. If you don't believe me, eat the same fucking meal 5 times a day for the next year. Don't change it. Don't deviate it, and you'll be so sick of that meal.
Yeah, I've been doing that this year with my muscle chef. Yeah, literally vegan meals bunch for this whole year.
It's like, even if it's the most tasty thing you put in your mouth the first time you have it, like, I could eat this forever. Eventually, you can't eat it. It's the same with any area of your life. You curiosity, because kids are curious. That's what makes them learn so much. And the more curious we are, you're not always things that you learn you mightn't be into, which is fine. But the more you become curious, you can take things that you can learn from that, implement it into different areas of your life, and you can continue to grow and thrive and experiment and do all these things, which that's what life is about, because you don't know. You might have an idea of what you think you like and don't like, but you're never going to really know until you try shit. Once again, this is business, intimately hanging out with mates, trying different hobbies. Like, you might think you don't like rock climbing, then you try rock climbing, and you're like, that was gnarly.
Seriously, I'm going rock climbing this Saturday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's been on my hit list to do for a while. So that's one of my main goals for fucking this month. It's so funny you say that, because I've been going through some rehab on my back, and I've been waiting for that to get sorted. So that's exactly fun. Yeah, and also like I did some pottery. I know it's so random. It's like pottery. Like, what is this, ghost like in the movie? But I'm actually like really trying to pick that up right now as well. So like, I think that's the point. Like, if we're not having fun, then we're just literally grinding at work. And right now, like, work for me has been like, now that I've moved from flight attendant to like a corporate role, it's like you really need those elements, otherwise you're just going to go crazy.
Definitely.
Yeah,
you need to keep life exciting. And that's where, once again, if you're feeling dull, you're feeling stuck, just do shit. Like, do stuff outside of the normal scope, learn stuff, read stuff, talk to people that maybe you necessarily wouldn't talk to on a daily basis, because it might be a weird and wacky convo, but it's still, you walk away from going, fuck, that was interesting.
Yeah, and there was something that you said that actually made me think, like, you know, really discover like things that you like. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't think I'm necessarily the most exciting person, but I'm not boring either, because I've always tried different things. And I think people, like, there's a lot of things out there that people try to push on you with social media and all these things, and it's like, oh, I should be doing this, liking this, and it's like, no, like, honestly, just go back and think to what really sparks joy, and just do that. And also just strip like everything away if you need to. Like, a big thing that really helped was, like, I was doing a bit of minimalism a few years ago, and like really having nothing, and then
what is minimalism, just for those
fuck, here we go. You know, people would ask me this question, and I'd be like, for me, there's no such definition of minimalism, but what it is, it's really doing away with most things to enjoy the things that are important. I think that's the best way I say it.
Elon Musk is selling a whole heap of stuff now, isn't he, to be a minimalist?
Is he?
I've read, he's sold all his properties. I think he's still got one property left, but
is it got to do with that breakup with Grimes? Because I've been.
Are they broken up? Have they?
I think they did. I don't know, because I love her as a musician, and I was just like, I can imagine he's probably hit the midlife crisis, and now
bit of pop culture for you guys.
What's that?
That's a bit of pop culture talking Elon and Grimes, but
yeah.
I think he just, because everyone was like, well, you know, ripping into him for being the wealthiest man in the world. He's like, well, doesn't change who I am, and he's like, so he's just sold everything. He doesn't have possessions.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, and that's actually the thing with travel, that I realized, when you literally got a 15-kilo backpack for a year, you'll come back and you'll be like, wow, like, is this all I needed? And then you start realizing, well, like, you really start appreciating things that you've got in life. I know we're probably segueing into that, but one thing I really realized is I really started going into more minimalism, because what I realized is a lot of the stuff that I had, I was like, hang on, wait a minute, like,
why do I have it?
Yeah, exactly. And you think it brings us joy. And there was a moment, I even remember, when I was climbing up this mountain, and I had like that proper moment where I saw myself in a rocking chair, and I was just like, holy shit, everything that I got, like this clothes and this watch, like, it ain't going to mean fucking shit when I'm 80. And like, people say that, but it was only for me to have that realization at 30, where it's like, I finally get it now.
Yeah.
And so, you know, minimalism is probably one way that can really help people, you know, see that. But there's no right or wrong. Like, if you got fucking 50 shoes, like, power to you. Like, if that's a hobby and you're using them, or you're swapping them out, like, you know, you've got those books, right? You obviously like use them, or maybe reread them. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. So
it's probably just an ego stroker as well, because I think about how much I've read. I don't need that anymore.
You know, I do look at those people, and they're like, I don't know if it's like a news thing or whatever, and they're having those interviews, and they've got all these books, and I'm like, have they read like every single book there? Like,
I think it's there because at any point in time you'll have conversation. Like, I got a book called Minimalism, and there's a minimalism podcast.
Is it by which one is it?
I can't even see it now.
Because like, if it's by Josh and Ryan,
Minimalist,
because I was a community leader here in Brisbane for yeah, and so that's how I really started leveling up in that sort of area, where I was like hosting the meetup group for them. Which is really cool.
What is a meetup group for them involved? So anyone who wants to learn more about it, read it.
Yeah, 100%. And that's how it sort of started. Like, I came across a TED Talk TED Talk with these guys, TikTok with these guys, and it just went from there. Now, if you guys are interested, I think Beck Walsh, she's been running it for a bit. Really cool lady, personal coach now, who's just like left a government job, like living her best life. Which is
so,
awesome.
would you still consider yourself a minimalist, or?
You know what? Definitely. If you ask my old housemate, he'd say, hell no. He'd be like, look how many plants you got. I feel like, come on, please leave me alone. No, but honestly, I don't, to some extent, yes and no. Like, if you look at my wardrobe, people would be like, you're crazy. But I'd be like, no. But then there's other things that I might have where it's got some sort of purpose. So I think that's the thing when people ask, like, you're not a minimalist, or it's like, there's no right or wrong, you know, like, where is like, nothing's black and white.
Yeah.
So in some way, I think that was a good a part of my life that I really was getting heavy into it. But I think now it just complements my life, where I really appreciate things. But, you know, from that, it really, being that the community leader really led into like some really cool other things, where I started doing a community project that I took off, and that really opened up like other areas of meeting other like-minded people. And I think once you go into something, it can just open doors to really opening your mind into different areas, and to our point, like things that are fun that you enjoy, really. Yeah. So stripping all that shit back can sometimes help when you need a reset. Like,
also, I think it also did, like, these are literally my possessions in this office. Like, the books are my main thing. Clothes, I literally wear the same shit. Like, look at these until they're absolutely trashed, and then I'll buy something, because it's not really a focus. But I think not having a whole heap of materialistic, and, you know, obviously I've got stuff, but like, when you don't have a whole heap of materialistic possessions, or you're not looking to buy them to fulfill you, like, you learn to become more creative. I think, you know, I read, I create a lot, like whether it's content or write for myself, and or just walk and fucking daydream. Like, I do all these things rather than previously, or actually not even really previously, or go skateboarding or surfing or whatever. But like, you just have to sit in front of video games. Not that there's anything wrong with video games.
There's not, and you can use that in some way to enhance your creativity. But once it starts controlling how you think, I think it's a different way. You know, you look at kids these days with their iPads, and it's like, are they really like learning early to get that creativity? There's nothing wrong with it if it doesn't control you.
Well, that's the crazy thing. I see people putting iPads and phones in front of like 1-year-old kids. I'm like, I'd never do that, man.
Look, I think they don't know any better. And like, don't get me wrong, I'm not a father and a kid, and I'm not going to like tell anyone's kid like, hey, don't do that. But I don't know. I think technology is so fresh and so evolving. I think it's only in 10 years from now we're going to look back at that and be like, fuck, like that probably was not the best thing. Like, I don't know. Did they even have like advisory ratings on movies and TV programs like back in the 60s or 70s? You know, that's like something a stupid example, but you know, I think it's only after time. True. You know, and even like, you know, you look at fast food commercials, like with the kids, they're blocking them out at certain times. It's only going to be with technology. I think like we're really going to start realizing, hey, like, well,
where are the experiments?
Fucking oath we are. So
but we've flown through that hour.
Really? That was fun though.
It was awesome fun, man. I could continue talking. We really just touched the surface. But if people, you're not on Instagram, right? So where can, if anyone just wants to chew the fat or catch up with
100%. If anyone got any value out of this, like, please feel free to reach out to me.
People will have.
Look,
I got a heap of value from it.
I appreciate that. And look, at the end of the day, you can just be like myself, not really like trying to change the world, but I think starting with yourself I think like a key.
Even on that, I think anyone who does change the world starts with themselves.
100%.
Everyone tries to skip the middle part where it's like, I want to help myself and I want to help my 5 best mates, but like, I want to fucking be Elon Musk. It's like, well, Elon started here and did whatever served him and helped him, and then collectively grew.
So Elon Musk fans listening to this, sorry, maybe there wasn't too much value, but
buy Dogecoin. That's not financial advice. Don't listen to me. Someone will try and sue me for.
Don't even get me working on financial advice. Shout out to Scott Pay for people who really want some financial advice.
Is that Barefoot Investor? His book. Read that book, everyone.
Straight up. I read it, and honestly, just some like, it'll get you some grounding. But like, getting back to if people want to reach out to me, I've got Facebook. You might find me on Marc Vecchio.
You're also on in the Strong Men of Value group.
Yeah, 100%. Like, honestly, I don't really talk to many of you guys directly because I feel like it's always in those social groups. But like, please feel free to reach out. And if anyone got any value, you know, if anyone wants to ever travel and has that fear, like, honestly, like, just break that away and just go. Yeah, just go for it. Because honestly, like, the last thing you want to do is just have that regret in life, you know,
100%.
And, you know, just keep pushing everyone and people around you and just be your best self. That's all you can do, no matter where you are in life.
Definitely. And guys, remember, this show only grows with, you know, word of mouth. There's no algorithms and stuff that I'm aware of for potties. So if you enjoyed it, share it with some mates, tag us on socials, and also hit the subscribe button on YouTube and Spotify and Apple, all that sort of jazz.
Straight up.
Yes.
Yeah. I was watching it on the weekend when I was doing my meal prep, watching it, and I was just like,
couple of episodes at a time, or for those listening, you'll be watching yourself, man, on the big screen.
Oh, I don't think I know. I don't know if I want to watch it.
You got to watch it.
Really?
One of the hardest things to do is like watch yourself speaking. That's why, like, I get, you know, the whole purpose behind getting you to do the Facebook Live and stuff like that. It's like, you got to get comfortable with seeing yourself, because that's how you show up. And then you can go, oh, I could, you know, articulate myself differently. I could pause here, and
100%.
You know, you can learn from that. It's uncomfortable. I hate watching myself, and I do videos every fucking day. I'm like, oh, I can improve. But then I look at videos from 7 years ago. I'm like, man, I've come a long way.
Yeah, and that's 100%. I think that's a good thing. Like, too, the thing is, like, you can look back on your progress and use it as a learning experience. So
thanks for coming on, brother.
So thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Really enjoyed that.